Welcome back to physical education. That's what we're
What
doing.
episode we're on, do you?
I have no idea what episode we're on, but we are educating people physically. We are here with Coach JoJo, Lumos member turned wonder coach, turned nutrition coach, turned all around excellent person.
Wow, thanks.
Wow, it's a lot. I can keep going. And we're doing our 5 questions with a coach. And today we're going to talk about nutrition. Today we're going to talk specifically about nutrition challenges and the one that you and your clients and some fun extra people just wrapped up. So briefly for folks who don't know you or who you are beyond my really detailed explanation, what you do at the gym, specifically in the nutrition realm, you want to do a little intro?
Yeah. I mean, as Noah said, I am a coach. I joined, I joined as a member in like the very early days in 2017. So I've been exposed to like the Lumos culture and, the Lumos culture. We're going to cut that.
That's it. That's all we need to know.
Right.
The culture.
Culture for a long time and from the very beginning. And then, started coaching like about 3 years ago. And then recently just started coaching nutrition earlier in early 2025. Mostly take like a very longevity focused approach to nutrition. I've kind of learned through this process that I'm not really interested in coaching major bodybuilder or very strict needing a major body composition changes for sort of competitions, things like that. I much more would rather focus on behavioral change, long-term change, and things that will keep you healthy and happy for a very long time. So,
cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that jives with the culture.
Yes.
Right? With what we're trying to do here, which is, kind of zoom out the lens of fitness and have people think about it a little less in the, short term or really sort of sometimes aesthetic, tangible, but just this kind of what I think can pervade a lot of fitness talk today, this kind of almost panicked feeling of I need to do X right now. Yeah. I need to be here. I need to be there. And zooming out to this longer term view and this idea that hey, if you're doing this for a long time, you can work on things slowly and sustainably, and they're going to get you where you want to go in, a much better way than if you make your life miserable for, however long. And that, I think that, dives well or dovetails well into what we're going to talk to about the rest of this stuff. So you just wrapped a holiday habits challenge, right, at the gym. Why did you want to focus specifically on sort of that holiday period for the challenge?
Yeah. I mean, the holidays are super challenging in and of itself. Routines are super thrown off. You probably have lots of family in town or are going to visit family. There's travel happening, and just a lot less structure, I guess, in your day to day. And I already had a good bit of nutrition clients that I wanted to work on this really closely with them throughout it. And so I wanted to open it up to the rest of the gym to do that as well, because I think I guess the message that I wanted to send out to clients and the participants of the challenge was just first realigning with why they signed up with the challenge or why they were signing up for nutrition with me in the first place, and clearly they had some sort of intention or goal towards their health, their fitness, their nutrition, whatever. And so I wanted to make sure we knew that and we defined it and they all knew it. I didn't necessarily need them to tell me that, but I needed them to know it. Why were they here in the first place? And then I wanted to try to teach them and break down how to take those intentions and goals and put them into daily actions that can be expressed no matter where you are in the world throughout this, or if you were stripped of your environment or if your routine was super crazy, and how do you still remain somehow committed to this broader goal that you have in a much less intense way almost. And so it was a big focus on bare minimums. And so we had 5 daily habits that were kind of the bread and butter of the challenge that they needed to try to hit every single day. And it may have been expressed differently throughout every single day, but it kept them voting yes, I guess, for that person that they decided at the beginning of the challenge that they wanted to be throughout this. And then the last piece of it was just hopefully getting to have them accept that was enough, and at no point, just what you said earlier, do we need to be all in versus all out. Like that was just what I really wanted to get out of, was like this sensation of like, okay, well the holidays are here, so I'm just gonna wait until the new year and then I'm gonna like get back on track with what we've been working on. I would much rather just, again, express it in a much like less intense way and make sure that we're still committed to it, and then accept that like, yes, I am still committed to it. That was enough. I did this. I'm a different person this year than I was last year. And so yeah.
I think so much of that is relevant and valuable. Like you said it in sort of abstracts of like, if your schedule changes or if your environment changes. And I think the holidays tend to be a time where most people are going through that, right? They're like inherently, there's no way you're not. Even if you stay at home, whatever, it's like, work is weird and just everything kind of gets weird. I know I always, like every year, I'm like, this year's going to be different, right? Maybe I need to do the holiday challenge next. My wife did it, right? And then I think, the second point, that you talked about kind of after that is that like that feeling of pressure, right? That feeling of like, I need to be perfect. And we've run challenges, I've been doing this for a long time. I've seen lots of different challenges. And usually I feel like in a challenge, there's like a couple people who are just like challenge bots. Yeah. They're just like, they're so good at, they're just like, I am going to do whatever the like parameters of this challenge are to win to whatever, and if there's, you can get 5 points a day, they get all 5 points. If it's 400 points a day, they do all 400 things. And I feel like often it can leave anybody else feeling like, well, I messed up. I didn't get where I need to go. So I think the idea of like making it, sort of individualized and sort of like, led by the person, right? Where they get to kind of like help define what success looks like, what, kind of like learning looks like, and, kind of, driving towards that. Also common, not something we've done a ton here, but we see a lot in the gym space and other gyms is, some sort of like new year, new me, or kickoff to 2020, whatever kind of thing, usually like a January nutrition challenge or something like that. Why didn't you want to do one of those?
I think like you can, like, don't get me wrong, we could have like
you do it every month, right?
Exactly. Well, that's kind of like the bigger, because I was like thinking about this question and I'm like, people get renewed energy all the time, like in whatever that like landmark is for them, or that time period is. Like maybe it's their birthday, or maybe it's like going into summer, or just like some sort of like chapter of their life is closing and another one is starting. And so like you can get that like energy and that excitement, and like we could capitalize on that, and that it's, so yeah, I guess like the new year can be that for some people. And so and I even have like some nutrition clients who are currently like in that, and I'm not going to be like, no, that's bad. No, that's wrong. I definitely want to go off of that motivation that they already have and that momentum that they've already generated. And I want to like be excited about it. And I want them to like have clarity, I guess, around like the types of goals that they want to set. But then I'm excited to get to that point that maybe the energy isn't there, or like, again, routines are thrown off, environment is different, there's little to no structure, just like we experience like throughout the holidays. And so it was really just kind of like a different twist on it, and like, or just like a choice, because I think we could have like gone either direction, I guess, but I wanted to emphasize or just like work with clients through like the tougher times almost, and teach them like how to keep going and maintain the consistency that like will eventually lead to more motivation and energy and excitement in the future, especially when they start seeing all the changes and the progress and stuff. And so anytime that these like excitement comes around, I'm like, we're going to go with it and roll with it for sure. But I think it's like, I'm like, even for the clients who are going through that right now, and we are talking through it right now, I'm excited for like 2 months from now when maybe like these like questions start coming up, or like friction comes up, or just like not having the same level of energy, and like how we get through that. So
yeah, I mean, it seems like to me it's like you made a decision about, do I want to catch people sort of on like the potential like downslope or the upslope,
exactly,
and evening up that downslope, right? Like pulling that back to center is, I mean, in some ways I think it's harder, but I think is a lot more beneficial then if some like there's a sort of natural upslope, right? We talk about it a lot in workouts where we're like, the last round, you're going to be able to push a little harder.
Exactly.
You need to worry about the one before that, right? That's the one. That's the one where we want to put our focus. So kind of like, you're kind of gambling or banking on the fact that, come January, come a new year, people are going to be locked back in, they're back from travel, they're whatever. Yeah. And it's like, can we get them through that period that is often where people get really derailed, often leads them into doing something in January that like maybe isn't the most, long-term healthful or like good habit like building.
Such a flip too.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Really contrast.
It's like, it's like, and then it probably likely makes it a lot harder to stick to if they don't have like the system built already. So now they already have that like bottom line bare minimum system from the holiday challenge and can now like honestly like have more confidence with my clients that are like going through the renewed energy, I guess, because I'm like, okay, I know they can hit their bare minimums. I just saw it as they went through all of their holiday challenge. So now it's time to like push a little further or go further.
And let's talk about a little like this isn't a question. I realize I didn't ask this, so this is wild card. I know you took some notes, but I mean this one. I think you'll know like. We talked about sort of like a why, right? Why am I doing this? Why was this your idea? And we're going to talk about some of the like, I guess like what the successes, takeaways, effects. But what about the like, what was the challenge specifically? I mean, I just realized we just assumed that people would get it. So like, and fairly briefly, like, what were the parameters of this challenge?
Yeah, it was about 6 weeks leading up to, it was like we started maybe a week or two before Thanksgiving, I think, and then led to the last day of the year. So it was like a Wednesday to a Wednesday. And then again, it was 5 daily habits that they had to stick to. It was like a hydration goal, it was a protein goal, it was a movement goal. And so again, like when we talk about expressing it differently, it was like you need to get 20 minutes of movement in every single day. You either come to the gym, you go for a walk, you like whatever, you do some yoga inside your house. Like you need to like be like make it an identity thing of like I am somebody who moves every day. And so that was kind of like the goal behind those ones. There were 2 other ones. There was a mindful one that they got to kind of like express however they wanted to. And then same with the last one. It was supposed to be like an anchor to a routine of some sort, whether that's like the first thing I do every single morning is drink a glass of water, like picking something where I'm going to try to go to bed at the same time every single day, but picking something that even if, yes, they were traveling or whatever, they could somehow try to still stick to anchor that amongst all the other like chaos that was going on. We also did, and they had to track that every single day in this app called Habit Share, and then they got to share it with me, so I got to see it everybody's daily updates, and people were like texting me through it. It was like very fun to like see how well people were doing every day throughout it. And then we had weekly challenges that were like group challenges done in Slack, and people had to like take a picture of it and send it to the group and tell us what they did. So one was like you have to try one new recipe or meal for the week and then share it with everyone. That was fun. And then we had a bingo card, which had like pretty like they weren't like wild ones, but much harder things to get to. So there was like one that was set a boundary or said no to something that didn't support their goals for the time period, I guess. Another one was like hitting their sleep goal or hitting like 8 hours of sleep for 6 or 5 weeks of the program. So like almost the entire thing. Right. And so, so it kind of like had opportunities to engage people in many different ways. That was kind of like the gist of it.
All right, cool. And so, now that we've wrapped, like what are some of the big, whether your takeaways or, big successes you've seen or just kind of like stories coming out of the challenge?
Yeah. Overall, like I think it was really fun to see because I think with any challenge, yes, you get the challenge bots and you also get the excitement and the energy at the very beginning. So there was like lots of chit chat in the Slack for the first few weeks. Everyone was doing the weekly challenges. It was really funny to like, we'll just like see kind of how it petered off throughout the challenge or throughout the cycle of it. And so those like bigger challenges, like the weekly ones in Slack, the participation like definitely fell off. And so that was like interesting to see though that the habit share tracking though, like actually kept up pretty damn well. So it was really cool. It was honestly, I was like reading or looking at the numbers and like looking at how when people started falling off on the habit share. And there was a good bit of people who stayed on for the entire time, but there was like the December 20th, like right before Christmas happened.
Cliff.
There's been
Christmas Cliff.
group of people that just did not track their habits anymore, but it's just like that's normal stuff. So I'm not really too worried about it.
Still means they probably did a month of tracking right before that. Yeah.
Exactly. And that was like what I kept pushing for the entire time. It's like your bare minimums and this is what matters the most. The challenges are fun, whatever, but like I want you guys to hit these 5 things every day.
Yeah, and I mean if somebody, in a 6-week challenge, if you end up doing, 4 or 5 weeks of it,
yeah.
Right. I think that's like pretty like in line with the kind of general understanding of like, 80%,
exactly.
Sticking to a plan or something like that as like a good target from a sustainability standpoint to hit. So
yeah, exactly. Cool. And then the only other one that like I really noticed, which is I think how it sparked us to have this conversation though, was like my nutrition clients actually getting, because I meet with them, most of them every single week, and so it was like always reinforcing like what's going on with the habits, like how are you doing hitting bare minimums, how are you going to do it when you leave, how are you going to do it when you travel, like all this type of stuff, and just getting that like extra attention. I noticed that most of my nutrition clients were the ones that kind of kept up through the entire challenge. And so that was cool to see it, and just like excited about like them being very like, I guess like taking a very genuine approach to it, and like wanting to improve and like wanting to commit to the process, I guess.
Excellent. And I think we've probably talked over some of this, but so like this mentality, this kind of like process oriented, sort of sustainable mentality around nutrition and sort of like fitness and health habits like that you practice during the challenge, how does that align? I mean, I think we've already talked about it maybe in the open, like with your overall, your nutrition coaching philosophy and what you work with clients who are going to be ongoing clients.
Yeah, and I mean, I think like the whole process-oriented mentality of it is like the whole thing, where it is just like and it's making it your identity. Like that is what I want. I want the like to see the behaviors, and that's like it's actually like so much fun to like watch clients go through some of this and notice these behaviors, because I think when we think about habits, we'll be like, yeah, I need to drink X amount of water per day, and like that's going to be my habit that I work on or whatever. But then it's like, they start noticing behaviors that they have built up that maybe aren't as great, where they're like, I realize that every single time I sit down and to watch TV, I eat something. And it's not because I'm hungry, it's not because I'm craving anything. Like it's literally just this habit that I've built that like my body knows and my brain remembers, like TV, eat, must do together. And it's like, because we are focusing on this and like really trying, I just love when clients become aware of that stuff.
And I think like the identity sounds like it's like I want you to think of yourself as like I am a water person, right?
Yeah.
Like I am a person who like I mean, as much as like I think some people like to like make fun, like you carry my water bottle everywhere, and I'm always and like, I am not a sit down in front of the TV and just like dig my hand in a bag of chips person, right? And like when we start thinking about ourselves that way, it's not to say I'm not somebody who watches TV, or I'm not somebody who like has a snack, right? But I am not a just sort of like mindless TV muncher, right? As like again as identity.
Yeah.
So
and then it's cool to like kind of like work on tactics to break a little bit of it, where it's not like we're gonna be like, okay, every time you sit down and watch TV, you can't eat anything. Like I did with one client where she just had to like eat at the table. It's like you could have the TV on if you wanted to, but like we need to somehow rewire it a little bit so you're not attached to that every time. Or just like a client that I had who like needs to weigh themselves X amount of times. We're using it as a data point for them right now, and he's like, I see it every single day, but I keep forgetting to like step on the scale. And so then we were like, literally just put it somewhere that you trip over it. So it just like changes like your association with that item. And so, yeah, I think that is just much more like if we are way too attached to like X result or X outcome, like you're probably not going to get there. We need to be much more like working on our identity and who, like, yeah, what are the daily things that we do to make up this person we want to be.
Nice. I think that wraps it as far as like challenge stuff. As far as the rest of the year, the other, 10 months and 2 weeks or something, if somebody's interested in working with you, what's the hit me up. Are you
slap me in the face?
Well, whether it's somebody at the gym, right? Obviously, they can just come in and talk to you, or Slack you or email you or something like that. Somebody outside the gym would Send you an email.
Yeah, send an email. We can just send it through. Just fill out the form on the website too.
Yep.
Hopefully, if they find it there, or if on Instagram, you can send us a DM because I also work on the social media, so I will be there.
All roads. Yeah. Very cool.
It'll get back to us.
Excellent. We are going to clock in at just under 20 minutes for this episode. That's what we're looking for. Finally, we've wrenched it back from like 45 plus. I'm writing less questions these days.
I'm happy to be that person for you.
I'm grateful that you are. So thank you for sitting down and chatting. And we'll see you next week for the next one, whatever episode that is. Bye.
I love how you don't know.
No idea. Episode something.
Episode.